Hi and welcome back to my Mediterranean kitchen. Today we'll be making a curry pumpkin and apple soup with toasted pumpkin seeds. It's a recipe from my book, Zest for Life, the Mediterranean Anti-Cancer Diet, and it's a wonderfully warming, filling autumn soup. Let's take a quick look at the ingredients. First of all, a nice squash. I like to use butternut or Hokkaido pumpkin for this. About half this size, this is quite a big one. 2 nice untreated apples, ideally of different colours, an onion, some fresh ginger, an untreated lemon, about a cup of coconut milk, 200 millilitres roughly, some vegetable or chicken stock, 4 tablespoons of pumpkin seeds, some tamari, which is soy sauce, and try to get the kind that is wheat-free. Lastly, some turmeric and curry powder. First we'll start by toasting the pumpkin seeds. Toasted pumpkin seeds are a fantastic substitute for unhealthy mass-produced salty snacks, like potato chips for example, because they're crunchy, they're a little salty, but in addition to that they contain lots of nutrients that potato chips don't. For instance, zinc, which is very important for immune health and also for tissue health, and oils which are thought to have protective effects against prostate cancer. So men who may be at risk of prostate cancer are recommended to have a small handful of pumpkin seeds every day, and this is a very tasty way to eat them. So to toast these pumpkin seeds, take a dry pan, don't put any fat in, and just put 4 tablespoons of pumpkin seeds in, and then warm these on moderate heat until they start to pop. Once the pumpkin seeds have started popping and expanding a little and turning lightly brown, you add a teaspoon of soy sauce and then very rapidly stir them around so that they all get covered in a little bit of soy sauce. Not too much, and if you're trying to watch your salt intake, just put in a bit less because it is very strongly flavorful. Just keep stirring until the hissing and the steam stop. There you go, now they're slightly browner. Take them off the heat and tip them onto a plate where they can cool. And now if you're just making these as a snack, all you need to do is let them cool, put them in an airtight jar, and they'll keep for a week or 2. In a nice big saucepan, heat 2 tablespoons of olive oil or coconut oil if you like. Either goes very nicely in this recipe. And cook the chopped onion. And cook this until it's translucent, about 4 or 5 minutes. Once the onions are translucent, I grate in a knob of ginger about this size, about 1 inch to 1.5 inches. I leave the skin on when it's organic, when I bought it in the health food shop. Otherwise you might want to peel the skin, although that's a shame because that's where a lot of the essential oils are located. And I just grate it very finely on this wonderful microplane grater, which I use for ginger, lemon, even garlic, chocolate, for fine dustings, because it grates it extremely finely, as you can see. It almost turns it into a puree, which is a wonderful way of dealing with those sometimes quite strong fibres in ginger. Right. Ginger has also got powerful anti-inflammatory and antioxidant effects, so it's a useful herb to include in your diet. And it goes very nicely with the slightly bland pumpkin flavour of this soup. Knock and stir it well. And cook for another minute. Now I add a teaspoon of curry powder and a teaspoon of turmeric, both of which again have anti-cancer and anti-inflammatory properties. Give it a little stir so it's nicely combined with the onions and the oil. And then we add the squash. Now as you'll see, I've actually left the skin on. This is a Hokkaido squash, of which you can actually eat the skin. It's the only squash I know whose skin can be eaten. And it's delicious, and it's a particularly concentrated form of beta-carotene. And of course it saves time because you don't have to peel it. Butternut squash I prefer to peel. Now, we put this in. And again, we mix it around so it's nicely covered with spices and onions and ginger. And then we add the stock. a pint and a half or 750 millilitres. Give it another quick stir, make sure that nothing's stuck to the sides. Bring to the boil and then simmer for about 10 or 15 minutes with the lid on. Now add the apples and stir again to make sure they're well combined with the squash, the onions and all the nicely spicy soup. Bring to the boil again. Once it boils, lower the temperature and simmer for another roughly 10 minutes, covered with a lid. Now when the squash and apples are completely soft, which you can check by piercing them with a sharp kitchen knife, transfer them in batches to a blender and blend really, really smoothly, like this. Now when you've finished blending the soup, pour it all into a fresh saucepan and scrape out all the good bits. And now we're going to season. First of all, we'll add the coconut milk, which will give it a lovely coconutty, creamy texture and flavour. I prefer not to cook it because I find it changes taste and stops having that, it loses its sweetness. Now a squeeze of lemon juice to wake things up a little. A little salt. I already salted the onions earlier, so don't salt too much, also bearing in mind that you'll have the salty pumpkin seeds scattered over this. So the soup's ready to be served. Get a nice wide soup bowl. Look at that lovely orange glow. And it's got a perfect balance of sweetness from the apples, fruitiness, tanginess from the lemon and the fruit, and comforting sweetness from the pumpkin. Now, you can either decorate this with chives, or as I'm doing here, I had some cilantro in my fridge and I love cilantro with curry and coconut. What you can also do, for instance, for a Halloween themed soup, is make a little sort of spider web by squirting some cashew cream across the surface and making like a little spider web. I'm sure you can do this better than I can. And then you can pop some spiders in the centre in the guise of the pumpkin seeds. There you go. Bon appetit. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have any comments or questions, contact me via the website www.zestforlifediet.com and clicking on the author tab. The Zest for Life website also has my blog where I regularly write about diet and cancer, and lots of pictures of some of the other recipes in my book. Thank you for watching.